Hi everyone, welcome to Netgate Chemistry. I hope all of you are preparing well for your exams. So, in the last lecture, we studied about the determination of hybridization. There were two methods, absolute and steric number method. We discussed how to find out the steric number of a given molecule, and using that steric number, how we can find out the geometry of that molecule. So, we have already discussed that steric number method is an errorful method, hence it has some limitations. So now we are going to talk about the limitations of steric number method. The first limitation is that it is not applied to molecules having steric number greater than 8. For example, if you take the case of XeF8 2 negative, we'll try to find out the steric number of XeF8 2 negative by direct method. So the steric number, how we calculate? Half V is number of valence electrons. Xenon has 8 number of valence electrons. Number of monovalent atoms, there are 8 F fluorine, so 8. There is no cationic charge, but there is anionic charge, so plus 2. It comes out to be 9. So it is not applied to molecules having steric number greater than 8. So it is not applied here. Second is, it is not applied when solid state of a compound is given. You can write it down. It is not applied when solid state of a compound is given. For example, PBr5 solid. This is the second limitation. Third limitation is that it is not applied when there are more than one central atoms. For example, C6H6, because here we cannot calculate the number of valence electrons in the central atom. In the first step we are not able to calculate. The fourth limitation is that it is not applied when central atom is a transition metal. For example, MnO4 negative. Here Mn is your transition metal. So in this case also it is not applied. If you calculate steric number for MnO4 negative, it will come out to be half. Mn has 7 electrons in the valence shell plus the charge. Okay, because there are no monovalent atoms attached, so it comes out to be 4. For steric number 4 we have sp3 hybridization, but actually Mn4 has D3s hybridization, so that's why the method fails here. And the fifth limitation is that it is not applied to Dragos compounds. Why? Because Dragos compounds are those in which there is no hybridization. So how to find out the hybridization in that case? And the fifth limitation is that it is not applied to the compounds which are odd electron species. For example, the radicals, for example CH3 positive. For CH3 positive, if you are going to calculate the steric number, it comes out to be half. Carbon has 4 valence electrons, so V is 4, plus number of monovalent atoms is 3. So if you calculate, it comes out to be 3.5. We don't have any geometry for 3.5, so it fails in this case also. So these are the limitations. These are the 6 limitations of this steric number method. So now we'll move on to the next topic. Actually, we have to study the VSEPR theory and the non-bonding electron pair theory, but we'll study that in the next video. Before that, I want to provide you some grounds for that. So right now I'll be telling you what are valence shell electron pair and what are non-bonding electron pair before starting the theories of them. So consider a molecule, for example OCl2. OCl2, this is your molecule. In OCl2, you know oxygen will be having here two lone pairs, okay, and two bond pairs. One bond will contain two electrons like this, okay, two lone pairs and two bond pairs. So these lone pairs and these bond pairs which are attached with the central atom, these are known as valence shell electron pairs. These which are attached with the central atom, the electron pairs attached with the central atom are known as valence shell electron pairs, whereas all the other electron pairs attached to the side atoms are known as non-bonding electron pairs. For example, these two chlorines, one chlorine will be having three lone pair and this one will also be having three lone pairs. So these are not your central atoms, these are your side atoms. So the electron pairs which are at the side atoms, that will be your these will be your non-bonding electron pairs. Okay, this is the very basic before we start the valence shell electron pair repulsion theory and the non-bonding electron pair repulsion theory. So what we have understood so far is that the electron pairs attached to the central atom are your valence shell electron pairs, and the electron pair attached to your side atoms are known as your non-bonding electron pairs. Okay, so these non-bonding electron pairs, they can also repel with each other, and these valence shell electron pairs, they can also repel these non-bonding electron pairs, because these are electron clouds. Basically we have given different names to them, but they are basically the electron clouds. They are going to repel each other. So sometimes these non-bonding electron pair repulsions dominate and sometimes these valence shell electron pair repulsions dominate. So now we have to find out when the non-bonding electron pair repulsion dominate and when the VSEPR dominate. So now we have to discuss the conditions for non-bonding electron pair to dominate. What are the conditions? First condition is that central atom should be small. If the central atom is going to be small, then naturally these two side atoms are going to be closer to each other. If the side atoms are closer to each other, these electron pairs will also be closer to each other, because these are electron clouds. They are going to repel each other. So central atom should be small. For example, the atoms of second period, like your carbon, nitrogen, oxygen. Okay, second condition is that side atoms should be large. If the side atoms are large, they will be closer to each. See, if chlorine is bigger, then their electron pairs will be comparatively closer to each other and will repel each other. If these side atoms are by chance small, then there will be comparatively apart from each other, not being able to show that much of repulsion. So the second condition is that side atoms should be bigger in size, should be big, or can be the bulky groups. For example, your chlorine, bromine, iodine, SR group, or any organic or alkyl group. Okay, these are always bulky in nature. These are bulky in nature and these are bigger in size. Okay, this is the second condition, and the third and the last condition is that hybridization of molecule should be sp3. The molecule should be sp3 hybridized. For example, in case of this OCl2, this is sp3 hybridized. Okay, geometry is tetrahedral. The shape is bent but the geometry is tetrahedral. It is sp3 hybridized. If you calculate the steric number, you can add up the number of lone pairs, 2 lone pairs, plus the number of bond pairs, sigma bonds, 2 plus 2 4. For steric number 4 we have sp3 hybridization, so the molecule should have sp3 hybridization. So these are the conditions in which NBPER will dominate. After this we are going to study about the VSEPR theory, but before that I want to tell you that we have already studied about the hybridization, that what is the effect of hybridization on the bond angles. We know that if molecule is sp hybridized, that is mostly having triple bond, it will be having angle of 180 degree, and then from sp3 to sp2 to sp the angle decreases. Yes, the angle decreases. This is the effect of hybridization on the bond angle. And then we have discussed about the non-bonding electron pair. What happens when these non-bonding electron pairs are present, and if these are satisfying all these conditions, then what happens, these are the electron clouds and these are the electron clouds, they are going to repel each other. Because of repulsion, these chlorine will move apart from each other, so this angle theta is going to increase. So if non-bonding electron pair repulsions are dominating, then the bond angle of the molecule is going to increase. Okay, so you can star mark this point. If non-bonding electron pair repulsions are dominating, then that means the angle theta, the bond angle of the molecule, always increases. No doubt the valence shell electron pairs are also repelling these electron clouds, but we are discussing the case in which this repulsion is dominating this repulsion. Okay, this repulsion is dominating this repulsion. So we are going to next discuss when the valence shell electron pair repulsion dominates. This was the case when NBPE are dominating, and next will be the case when valence shell electron pair repulsions are going to dominate. Okay, so consider, to clarify this further, I'll take a case of CH4, which is tetrahedral in shape. We know what is the angle between them. It is approximately 109 degree 28 minutes. Consider the case of your water, okay, which has this shape, and the angle is approximately 104 degree 5 minutes approximately. And in case of OCl2, which we have studied right now, angle is 110 degrees. So why this angle has increased here? See, this was the case where all the 4 bonds were similar and there were no repulsions between them, so the ideal angle was 109 degree approximately. After that the lone pairs came. These lone pair are valence shell electron pair because these are attached to the central atom. These are showing the repulsions, so the angle, instead of being 109 degree, these bonds starts to go inwards, and from 109 degree it goes up to 104 degree. Why? Because of these repulsions. But here in this case, these non-bonding electron pair repulsions are also present, and these are also dominating over these repulsions. These repulsions are present, but these repulsions are dominating over these repulsions. These are more than these one, so the angle, instead of getting inside, moves outwards. So instead of being at 104 degree, instead of being at 104 degree, it goes up to 110 degrees. So this is the case when NBPER dominates, the angle increases. So I hope this is clear now. With this comparison, I'll repeat once again. In case of CH4, there was no repulsion, so the ideal angle was 109 degree 28 minutes. In case of your water, there were valence shell electron pair repulsions, due to which the angle from 109 degree went up to 104 degree, and OCl2 was similar to your OH2, so it should have the angle of 104 degree approximately, but because here NBPER was dominating, the angle went up to 110 degree. Because these repulsions were dominating, Cl went outwards and the angle went from 104 to 110 degree. So this was the case of your NBPER. In the next video, we are going to discuss about valence shell electron pair repulsions theory, and after that we are going to have an absolute comparison between hybridization, NBPER and VSEPR theory. We have discussed about the hybridization, right? We have now discussed about NBPER, and after that we are going to discuss about VSEPR. Okay, we are going to understand all these three concepts, and after that we are going to have an absolute comparison between these three factors also, so that we are able to understand which factor to look for first while comparing the angles of molecules. So first we are going to understand each of these concepts, and then we'll go on up to understanding that which concept to apply first and then further which one. Okay, so up till now I think this much is clear. So thank you so much for watching. Bye.